There's a number sitting in your bank account right now, and it's lying to you. Say it's $10,000. 10 years from now, the screen will still say 10,000, but it will only buy $6,887 worth of stuff. Nobody hacked you. Nobody stole a cent. That's just what 3.8% inflation does quietly, year after year. Today, we're running the real math year by year, and I'll show you the exact year the damage stops being invisible. Here's why this matters right now. 3.8% isn't a scary hypothetical. That was the official US inflation rate in April 2026. And in May, it climbed again to 4.2. So the math you're about to see is the optimistic version. Most people think of inflation as a news word, something that happens to the economy. It's not. It's a tax on doing the normal thing, leaving your money where it sits, because you're busy and you'll figure it out later. That later has a price. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact dollar figure, your receipt, and the one mistake in year one that decides everything after it. Quick note before we start. This video is for education only. It's not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. Okay, year one. You've got $10,000 parked in checking. At 3.8% inflation, prices rise. Your money doesn't. 12 months later, your $10,000 buys what $9,634 buys today. You just lost $366 of buying power. Now here's the part that messes with people. You never see it. Your balance still says 10,000. The loss doesn't show up anywhere. Break it down, and it's about $1.04 a day. Imagine walking past a toll booth every morning and handing over $1 just for owning cash. Would you notice? Probably not. Would you be angry seeing the yearly total on a receipt? Absolutely. And that's the design flaw in your brain that inflation exploits. We react to losses we can see: a fee on a statement, a scratch on the car, an invisible $366 loss, no alert, no red number, nothing. That's why year one is the most important year. Not because the loss is biggest, it's actually the smallest. It's because year one is when most people decide inflation is not a big deal. That's the mistake from the intro. Judging inflation by a single year. Inflation is never a one-year event. It compounds. And compounding is about to turn against you. Watch what happens by year three. Year two. The 3.8% doesn't hit your original 10,000. It hits what's left of its buying power. The losses stack. End of year two, your money buys $9,281 worth. Year three, $8,941. You're down more than $1,000 now. $1,059 to be exact. Let me make that real. Think about your grocery run. $100 of groceries today cost about $112 by year three. Same milk, same eggs, same cart. 12% more money. Quick question, and be honest. Do you remember what your grocery bill was 3 years ago? Almost nobody does. That's inflation's second trick. It doesn't just hide from your bank statement. It hides from your memory. Prices creep so slowly that you recalibrate without noticing. What felt expensive last year quietly becomes normal this year. You forget what things used to cost, so you never feel robbed. 3 years in, you've lost $1,000 and felt nothing. And that's exactly why the middle years are where the real damage happens. You've stopped paying attention right when the compounding speeds up. Years 4, 5, 6. This is the stretch where the math gets mean. End of year 4, your 10,000 buys 8,614. Year 5, 8,299. Year 6, 7,995. Halfway through the decade, you've lost more than $1,700, 17% of your money's power, and you crossed that line without a single notification. Here's the 5-year grocery test. That $100 cart now rings up at $120.50. Gas, rent, insurance. Same story, different sizes. Now, the counter-argument I know some of you are making. That's why my money's in a savings account. It earns interest. Fair. Let's run that math too. The average savings account at a big US bank pays well under 1%. Say yours pays 0.5%. Over 10 years, your balance grows from 10,000 to about 10,500. Feels like winning, but prices grew at 3.8. Run both numbers together, and your growing savings account still loses about $2,760 of buying power over the decade. The interest didn't stop the leak, it slowed the drip. A 0.5% savings account isn't a shield against inflation. It's just a slightly slower way to lose. So by year 6, the polite phase is over. The last 4 years are where the number gets big enough to change how you think about cash. Permanently. Year 7. Your 10,000 buys $7,702 worth. And this is usually the year it stops being invisible. Not because of math, because of milestones. Year 7 is when the car finally needs replacing and the same model costs thousands more than you remember. When the vacation that used to cost $3,000 quotes you 4. Inflation doesn't announce itself with numbers. It announces itself with sticker shock. Year 8, 7,420. Year 9, 7,149. And year 10, 6,887. There's your receipt. 10 years of doing the normal thing. Nothing reckless, nothing dumb, just leaving cash parked. And the default tax comes to $3,113. 31% of your money's power, gone, without one bad decision. And if you want the truly uncomfortable version, at 3.8%, the rule of 72 says buying power gets cut in half in about 19 years. Money you set aside at 35 shows up at 54, able to do half its job. One more thing. All of this assumed 3.8 stays. 3.8. May's reading was already 4.2. At 4.2, your 10-year receipt isn't $3,100. It's closer to 34. The tax rate on doing nothing just went up. So what do people actually do about this? Let's be clear about the goal first, because this is where most videos start pushing you somewhere. The goal isn't to make cash win. Cash isn't an investment. It's an option to buy things and a cushion for emergencies. The goal is to stop paying more default tax than you have to. Broadly, people handle this in 3 tiers. Tier 1, they give every pile of money a job. An emergency fund's job is to exist, instantly available, no drama. Most planners suggest keeping that 3 to 6 month cushion in cash even though it loses to inflation, because its job isn't growth, it's availability. Tier 2, for cash beyond the cushion, some people move it from a near zero account to places that at least track closer to inflation, high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, short-term treasury bills. At around 4%, those roughly neutralize a 3.8% tax rather than beat it. We've run the full math on those in other videos on this channel. Tier 3, money you won't touch for many years. Historically, that's where people look past cash entirely, at assets, because no cash-like option reliably outruns inflation over decades. What's right for you depends on your timeline, your situation, and your risk tolerance, which is exactly why this part is education, not a recommendation. But notice what all 3 tiers have in common: their decisions. The default, everything sitting in one pile, for now, isn't safety. It's an unsigned permission slip that lets inflation take $1 a day. Let's close the loop. $10,000, 3.8%, 10 years, 9,634, 8,941, 8,299, 7,792, 6,887, a $3,113 receipt for doing the normal thing. But here's the reframe I want you to leave with. Inflation isn't a monster, and it isn't a headline. It's a rate, a price tag on indecision. You can't control the rate. You can completely control how much of your money is exposed to it and for how long. So tonight, do the 5-minute version. Look at every dollar you're holding in cash and ask each pile one question. What's your job? Emergency cushion? Fine. That's rent you're paying for safety, on purpose. No answer? That pile is paying the default tax every single day. This channel exists to show you the receipt on every normal money move. The savings account, the mortgage, the car loan. If you want the number nobody shows you, subscribe. Next, we run the real math on high-yield savings accounts, and that answer surprises almost everyone. Thanks for watching. See you in the next breakdown.